The last place where we left off was when I said, hey, I need to go buy yarn. Guess what? I went to buy yarn. Before I even went, I sent a message to the yarn shop. Yes, I do have their personal contact information, and I asked them if they had any bulk pricing because I knew I was going to be in there for quite a haul. They sent me a list. One thing that was missing from the list was the acrylic yarns because I knew I was going to be buying acrylic yarn for this star blanket and somebody else's star blanket, as well as one cardigan worth. There was a lot of acrylic yarn buying that was going to happen, so I needed that bulk pricing as well. They did not give me bulk pricing on that, but they did give me a 5% discount. Before even going, I already had secured bulk pricing on all the yarn I was going to buy and a 5% discount on the acrylic yarn. With discounts in hand, we drive and drive and drive. I live an hour and a half away from the yarn shop, so it takes quite a while to get there. And it's dirt roads and cobblestone roads and blacktop. That's not really that great of blacktop. If you know, you know. We drove there, got into the shop, and the first thing they do is hand me a basket. This is a big deal, okay? Because they only have 2 baskets. So I had the basket in hand and I went with the attendant to the first stop. I didn't know where to start, but then I remembered the reason we were going here was because of the Monarch butterfly cardigan. I headed over to the Bahoco 6 section. The attendant was already really happy about that because Bahoco 6 is like a luxury yarn. There are a lot more economical options for yarn in Brazil, like Cadore, Fial, and Eurohoma. The difference between the circular yarn that I'm buying, the Bahoco 6 and Bahoco 4, and most of the circular yarns are 100% cotton, and the others are usually 85% cotton and then 15% other fibers. And it's usually not as soft. Most people that buy in bulk are making to sell, and when they make to sell, they use the cheaper yarns because most people that buy don't know the value of crocheted items. To put it into perspective, that'd be like trying to sell handmade items in the US made with hand-spun or hand-dyed yarn. I walked away from the Bahoco 6 section with this brown yarn. In the dark browns, this was basically the only option that I was considering. All the others were either too warm or too muted. Like they just weren't the right fit. This one was great. It's called Tabaco and it comes in 400 gram skeins. So I got 3 of these to make sure I had enough for the cardigan. The pink was a little bit harder to decide on. There was another pink that we were looking at, and it was a lot lighter, a lot more girly, a lot more childlike, if you would say that. Even the attendant was like, if it's for a child, I would go for the lighter pink. It's called Candy, which I didn't get. So even though it's for a child, I knew I was gonna double strand it with another yarn that was color changed. So I didn't think that I needed it to be so light and so girly. I think that the variegated yarn that I was gonna double strand it with would already bring that into it. So I chose this quartzo color. I got 2 skeins of this one. It's 400 grams as well. It's more like is mauve the right word? I think mauve is the right word. And the other one was more like bubblegum pink. Between those 2, I went with this one. And I'm quite happy with how it matches with the Tabaco. I think it looks better, these 2 together. I was kind of right. If you look at the butterfly cardigan, you'll see the strands of variegated yarn running through it. It's really cute. It looks really good. I'm really happy with the result. For the white, there wasn't much of an option, just like the brown. It was either this one called Natural or really bleach white. It's like the fake Smile Hollywood white. And I didn't think it would go well with the cardigan. So I went with the Natural, which is more of an off-white. It's like the natural cotton color. You can even see like cotton fibers in there. The funny part was I need very little amount of this yarn for the pattern, like minuscule. So I asked her if she had like a smaller skein of it. She's like, no, we actually only sell that one in the 700 gram skein of white that I'm gonna use like maybe 30 grams of. I'll weigh it at the end and tell you exactly how much I use. There's very few stitches in the ends, just as like a detail. In the Bahoco 6 section, we walked away with 3 skeins of brown, Tabaco, 2 skeins of quartzo, and 1 skein of Natural, and then we went to the Clea Duplo section. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a rundown of the different yarn weights that we have in Brazil. I'm a fan of the circular yarns though, so that's the brand I'm gonna give you a rundown of. So we have, at the thinnest, the Clea 1000 and the Clea 5, which had the techs of 151 and 196 respectively. They have a 1.25 millimeter hook and a 1.5 millimeter hook. The next thickest yarn is Clea Duplo or Ani, which has the same techs of 295 and the hook recommendation of 175 millimeters. Then we have the Charmy, which has 378 techs and 2.5 millimeter hook. Then we have the Amigurumi, which is that really popular yarn here in Brazil because it has such a wide color selection. There's so many colors of it and people love to use it. And it's a good thickness, especially for Brazil where people tend to do garments with thinner yarns because of the temperature. Worsted weight is very thick in Brazil. We usually use it only for carpets. It's very different from the US. Next down the line, we have Duna and Barroco 4. Those have a tex of 590 and the hook recommendation is 3.5 millimeters. And lastly, the one that I'm talking about today is the Barroco 6, which is 885 tex, and the recommendation for the hook is also 3.5 millimeters, but I tend to use a 4 or higher. There are thicker yarns, but I just don't use them, so I won't talk about them. Tex is our standard metric system for yarn weights. We have a formula for it. Tex equals weight in grams divided by length in meters times 1,000. I've seen people online complain about, oh, this is a thin 3 weight or this is a thick 4 weight, and we don't have that problem because it's standardized and it works. Please learn, United States. But anyway, all this to come back to the fact that I was at the Clea Duplo section and why I was there. Why I wasn't in the Amigurumi section, which is what we did the yarn gauge swatches for. They didn't have the colors on hand, so I went to the Clea Duplo section. And there, they didn't have a dark brown that would look good. And the pink, I knew I was gonna get this variegated one. So the only question was, what was I gonna use to accompany the brown? Luckily, they had this plum, purple, brownish, pink, dark pink, a color that was beautiful. It's called cranberry, and this is the cranberry color I'm talking about here. Fit perfectly with the brown. It made the combination of with the pink look better in the butterfly wings, so it was great. Shouldn't I be crocheting? One thing I forgot to mention was the option for the Ani yarn. The Ani yarn is an oldie but goodie. It's the yarn that existed in the same text as Clea Duplo for the longest time. Clea Duplo is actually a newer yarn. It only exists since last year. The only difference between it and the Ani yarn is the way that the fibers are twisted. The twist looks different on the Ani yarn than it does on the Clea yarn. It looks different on the final result, but I do prefer the newer Clea yarn, as well as the color options in it I do prefer those as well. That's why I chose to go with the Clea Duplo. And in the end, I walked away with 2 skeins of cranberry to go with my 3 skeins of brown. I think I walked away with 3 skeins of cranberry as well, and 2 skeins of the variegated pink. At this point, I had the yarn that I was gonna use for the Monarch cardigan butterfly, but I had the other projects in mind that I wanted to buy yarn for. Last week, I posted this picture on the family chat. My brother-in-law gave this reaction to that picture. After that reaction to the picture, my husband said, oh, he's asking for a cardigan from you. Posted in the group that he's indirectly asking for one. My brother-in-law replied, no, I'm very directly asking for one. A couple jokes later, I'm making this cardigan for him. After I already have 2 other promised cardigans, and I was there at the shop, so why not already buy the yarn? I was deciding on the colors and the pattern and everything, and I asked for his opinion and he didn't give me anything back, so I had to decide everything myself. It was quite hard. I decided to go with colors that are very similar to my star blanket. The only difference is I'm taking out all the turquoises and the pinks and the reds to make it more masculine, and also because 2 years ago I made a cardigan for my sister, and that cardigan was exactly those colors, like reds and pinks and turquoises. I wanted to make them seem quite different. These are the 5 colors I got for my brother-in-law's cardigan, and I got them in the Barroco 4. It's between the Amigurumi yarn and the Barroco 6 yarn, right in there. That's the Barroco 4. I got 2 skeins of each of these, plus 3 skeins of this, which I intend to do the ribbing in, so I needed more of it. The reason I chose cotton and this yarn for the cardigan is because he's the second half of the hippy-dippy couple. They're very in tune with nature. They like going on walks. I wanted it to be breathable. I thought that it would get more wear if it was made out of cotton instead of acrylic like the other patchwork cardigans I'm making. I told the attendant this. I said, okay, so now we're done with this project. Let's go to the next. And she was like, I have my lunch break now. She handed me off to someone else because who knew how long I was gonna take in there, right? And we took my basket to the amigurumi section. Even though they didn't have all the colors on hand, I want to do 2-star blankets right now. I'm working on this one in worsted weight and also another one in, I think it's sport weight, amigurumi yarn. So I needed to buy the colors for it because I had only what I had bought for another blanket and didn't know if I'd have enough. I'm sure I wouldn't have enough. So that's why I went there and tried to buy 4 of each color of the one for the star blanket, but they didn't have all the colors I needed. So I just took what they had for all the colors they did have, which was 10 skeins total. That summed up our amigurumi visit. And we went to the acrylic yarn section where we spent the rest of our time at the shop. At this point in time, the attendant was either very happy or very annoyed at me because we had spent a lot of time there already. My husband says we spent 3 hours at the shop, but I think it was more like 30 minutes. So then she finally gave me the second basket. I was in charge of all the yarn purchasing that was happening right there. And that's not true, there were other people there. We basically took over the acrylic section for a good half hour. Okay, maybe it was half an hour in the acrylic section and then maybe some other time in the rest of the section. To give you a little bit of background, I gave a crochet class, I think 4 classes actually. The participants got really good at crocheting. We did a cup holder and a bag and a little cat. People learned how to crochet with me, and there's some people that were already crocheting before that. Some of those people I offered, hey, do you guys want to do a 6-day star blanket with me? Because I wanted the motivation to keep doing it myself. And I'll buy you the yarn. All you have to do is put in the work to do the star blanket. One of them said no, but the other said yes. First thing I do is get the yarn selection for the other person that's doing the star blanket with me. So I was there to buy the yarn for her star blanket as well. I said, you want to do it small, medium, large, or extra large, the size of like a bed cover? And she said, no, I want to do the size of a bed cover. I was like, whoa, okay. We bought the yarn for that. And that was 3 skeins of 7 colors, so 21 skeins total. The colors she chose were purple and yellow and orange. It's gonna look really good. They're really vibrant colors that we got them and separated them, and that went really well. It was funny because so most of the yarn in the acrylic section comes in these little plastic bags where they have like 5 skeins of each. Most of them were not full. They had 4 skeins or 3 skeins. So I was just taking these plastic bags out, and then instead of just giving her the plastic bag back, I just take out 1 skein and give her back that skein and take the big plastic bag with me. So I ended up with a lot of the bulk plastic bag from the store because I was basically cleaning them out of most of the colors. At least for the purples and the yellows and the oranges, that went really fast. So we separated the whole basket that way, and then I told her, okay, now we have to do my blanket. I was debating before I got there what colors to choose. In the end, I decided to go with pastels because I never choose pastels. I always choose vibrant colors. It's very rare that I choose pastel colors, and I wanted to get out of my comfort range. And also, I think that the pastel colors in the acrylic are really pretty. I chose beiges, I chose lavender and light green and light blue and a bunch of beiges. So it's the color of this star blanket. As you can see, they're mostly beiges and pastels. That's how this is going, which not very well, of course. I've done 2.5 of the spikes, and that's only because my husband let out the dogs and I needed to stop recording while he was doing that, and so I crocheted a little bit. I have been horrible at multitasking. After that, I bought 9 different colors for myself and 3 of each of those colors, so that was 27 balls of yarn. But then for one color, they only had 1, which was the glacé. I only got 1 skein of that, and then I asked her when she's gonna have it more back in stock. They're having a problem with super glue right now that they're not supplying them like they should, and so we're lacking in some colors. That's why the amigurumi section also had so few colors, but soon they'll have more in stock, and when they do, I'll be back. Because I'm doing the roll for the color, so every time I roll a 3, I have to use that color, and I'm already halfway through this game. A couple more rolls, and I'll have to take a break on the blanket until we restock. Then I chose the colors for this blanket, and that was 25 skeins. And then the attendant was like, are you done now? And I said, no, I still need to buy yarn for 1 more cardigan. If you remember, I already had 1 cardigan's worth here. I got Jeffrey's there, and I had a 3rd cardigan, which I promised to someone else. She wanted it black and gray and white, but they didn't have black because, of course, they were out of it because of the super glue shortage. So she said, oh, I can do navy blue as well. And I got 3 of the navy blue and 2 of each of the other colors, of the grays and the whites, so that I can make a patchwork cardigan for her. That was all the choosing of the yarn. At one point, while we were choosing the colors in the acrylic section, she asked me, hey, how much yarn do you use on each of those hats that you make? And I said, oh, I use exactly 1 ball of yarn. But I told her it's not crochet, it's knit. It's actually the chunky knit beanie pattern by Passionate Kelsey on YouTube. I can link that here. 2 weeks ago now, I made a bunch of these beanies, like a bunch. And I gave them away to the people at the farm. And she asked me how long it took to make one, and I was like, no, it's about an hour and a half. It takes one skein of yarn. Yeah, she's still kind of reeling from the fact that I'm not selling, that I just make these things for fun. I think everyone kind of is, even I should stop doing it. It helps me, okay? I like crochet. It calms me down, and it gives me focus. It helps me center myself. It helps me as my, shouldn't say that on YouTube, should I? No. Anyway, I was finally done with the purchase. I had got all the cotton yarns I wanted. I had got all the acrylic yarns I wanted, and I walked away very happy. I usually walk away very happy from that store because it's my favorite yarn store, and even though it's so small, they have so many selections, so many options. So yeah, I'm very happy. I'll go back again when they get the circle restock. Hopefully the first attendant is there because she's more attentive to my different color choices and all that. She's more engaging than the other one. They were both really nice, and it was really nice going to the store, and I now have all the yarn for the project, so no more excuses. No more holy Monarch butterfly cardigan. We'll finally be able to get that started, even though I've already started. I'm almost done actually, but you guys won't see that yet.